I just really had this no pain, no gain mentality and just took that calories in, calories out concept and ran with it and kind of just lived in that realm of like counting every calorie and macro and morsel that went into my mouth. And if I did like splurge or like indulge in something, I would kind of punish myself like with extra cardio. I don't want to say it crept up on me, but it's just like you kind of get consumed by it and you don't realize it until like it hits you, and it's just like your hormones are off balance and like your negative self-talk is through the roof.
Constance, welcome. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well.
Good. Really good to speak to you. And I want to go straight in and ask you because I've had this fascination with Japan for so long.
Yeah.
And I saw that you lived there for 3 years. Is that right?
Yes.
Amazing. Yes. And were you already plant-based before you lived there?
I was in progress. Like I had given up beef and pork by that time. But it kind of really wasn't on my radar when I moved, because it was summer 2017 when I moved over there. And I was about 2.5 years into like an intentional weight loss journey in general. So I had given up beef and pork in that regard because I had just heard that it could help. And in moving to Japan, I mean, it was a lot of layers to that weight loss journey, and like up and down, and like doing a lot of unsustainable things to like look a certain way, which from the outside looking in was great. I had lost a little over 80 pounds by this time that I went to Japan. And I hit a plateau, and I honestly just gave plant-based a shot because I felt like it was something else that could help. And I did lose weight, but I also just gained this whole new perspective for just my relationship with food and how it could be more free. And also being in Japan, it was so many fruits and vegetables and stuff that I had never heard of. And a lot of the local markets there were just, it was just overflowing with all types of stuff that I could eat. And it wasn't like as hard as I imagined it would be to make the transition while I was there. So yeah, I took my time, like in the span of that 3 years. I would say the first year, I was pescatarian. So like I would still have like fish and shellfish here and there. And then going into that second year, I had watched like What the Health, I had watched Game Changers and all the other documentaries that were coming out. So with that, I was like, I think I'm going to just jump and like go for it. And I never looked back. I just kept going with it.
And you were living in Okinawa, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and Okinawa is famously known as a blue zone, and a blue zone is an area of the world where people live to the longest of all the world.
Yeah.
What are some of the kind of the lessons that you took from living in a blue zone? What were some of the things that you saw that you think maybe led to people living longer lives?
Yeah, well, every time like I went outside or like just anywhere, I would see a lot of people walking, particularly like older people. Like, I mean, I don't know what their ages were, but I knew they were like up there, but they were, they had their fanny packs on and they were going. And even like walking along the beach, I would just see like a lot of people, not so much weightlifting, so to speak, but I know Blue Zone principles in particular put a lot of emphasis on natural movement, without like the machines and the dumbbells and stuff like that, but more body weight focused stuff. And I would see a lot of stuff like that while we were out. So that was something that I really leaned into, because in our apartment we had like a tatami room, which was like this straw grass like room, like on the floor, and it was just super zen. So I like I had taken yoga as like an elective for my major in college, but I didn't really take it seriously. But having this tatami room, it kind of reinforced like taking that intentional time to like decompress and like center yourself. So that was something I really picked up on there. And just the dynamics of the culture in general when it came to like accessibility to wellness and like um, things like we have chiropractic care here, but like I know in Okinawa, I found this chiropractor. You didn't need insurance. You just go in. It's like 3,000 yen, which is like 30 USD. You go in and like they take you back, lay you down, and you get like this heating pad put on your back, and it's like 5 minutes, like it's vibrating and it's warm. Then you get like a 10-minute massage where they're like loosening you up. And then before they do the adjustment, you have like a stretch test where they're like twisting and moving your body in different ways to actually see what needs to be adjusted. And like in contrast here, when I go to the chiropractor, like it's good, it's still helpful, but it's just like a few pinches and pokes and like wiggles, and then it's like crack, boom, and you're kind of out of there unless you pay for the. You have to pay extra for like the warm up and the massage and like all of that care that just seemed innate in the culture in Japan, and it was yeah, it just really like even opened me up to that realm because I wasn't that into chiropractic care or like aligning my spine and stuff like that either until I moved over there and like got that experience going to that office. Um, so yeah, that was a big thing. I could go on and on and on about Japan. It was like it really changed my life. Like it was a really great experience.
Super interesting that you when you're talking about that, it's like when someone talks about food and you're hungry. Like I feel like I need that for myself right now. Chiropractor. And I think yeah, accessible price point, a considered way of doing it. It certainly sounds that that's something that people would benefit from. What are some of the things that you noticed there from a food perspective? Like you said that you were kind of moving towards plant based at that time. How easy was it to eat kind of plant based foods there? Would people eat a lot of kind of like whole foods in their diet? Like what did you kind of notice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I was really fascinated about like the Okinawan purple sweet potatoes. So I would see those like everywhere. We actually had like a rice field not too far from our house, and like in the local markets, some of the stuff I honestly never got to it because it was just so many things that were like pickled or fermented that I didn't know what it was. Like, I did try daikon radish. That was really popular there. Um, Tried eggplant for the first time. One big thing that I noticed in the markets there, compared to, because I would shop, like my husband's in the military, so we had base access. So I would shop in the commissary sometimes too. And or I guess I could say I would do like 50-50 until like later on in the time, like I started shopping more locally. But I just noticed the contrast in the size of the bell peppers when I would get them at the commissary compared to when I would get them like out in the markets. Like I could probably fit like three in my hand at the if I got them like locally, and then shopping on base, it's like as big as my face, and it was like kind of heavy and dense, and that was kind of like enlightening in a way because I mean I had heard about GMOs and like our farming practices and stuff over here in Western culture, but I guess I just didn't consider it as heavily or really get intentional about avoiding it as much as possible until I saw it in Japan, and I'm just like, these apples are tiny, these peppers are tiny, like everything is very small compared to like these big small and like I don't want to say ugly, but it's just like stuff had discrepancies and stuff. It just looked more natural than what I was used to seeing. So that was something that I was like, well, that probably contributes to like the longer lifespan in this area too, because things are more natural, or I mean, I guess it would be. I don't know for sure if it was organic, but it seemed like it was.
Yeah, or at least
And
not
there
modified.
wasn't much of a price difference. Yeah.
At least not modified in the same way. No,
Mm,
I agree. I mean, when I lived in the US for some time, and it was always interesting because somebody told me after a while, it's like actually the laws here are different. You're allowed to put more things in the food than you
yeah.
are in Europe and the rest of the world. So that makes
Mm,
a lot of sense. And you're right. It's like it comes from a good place. I think we want to grow more food to feed more people, but in the process,
mm,
you're actually damaging the food, so people can't get the same amount of nutrients out of the food. And I think this
mm,
is a lot of time what leads to sometimes obesity is that people are having to eat so many more calories to get the same level of
mm,
nutrients, and those excess calories
yeah.
essentially, lead to excess weight and those health conditions that go with it. What would
And even like
sorry, go on.
I was just gonna add to what you were saying about not only obesity but like hormonal changes and stuff like that. I saw it because I was in youth development for like 7 years, and I saw it. Like I used to work at this school age care program, which we had students like kindergarten up to like eighth grade. Um, but I would see like sixth, seventh graders starting to get mustaches, or just like younger girls, like more developed, I would say, than I mean definitely more than I feel like I was, or like anybody I knew, which I feel like in this day and age a lot of younger kids look like a little older than we did. So yeah, but there was something else that I noticed too, like just how, I don't know, I guess like just altering your body functions and stuff like that and accelerating growth.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean, yeah.
there's a correlation as well between the introduction of GMOs and large scale pesticides and an increase in cognitive disorders. So things like ADHD, things like Alzheimer's, etc.
Mm,
Like the early
mm-hmm,
90s, we had this kind of this scale up of the use of these kind of pesticides and GMOs and everything else, and the amount of people that were suffering from those kind of conditions. So it makes sense that it could
yeah.
also affect the hormones. And I want to just go back to, you mentioned at the start that the genesis of your kind of plant based journey had been really around
Mm-hmm,
a weight loss kind of journey.
yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about
Mm.
that, kind of what was that journey like for you?
Yeah, well, that journey started in the spring of 2015. It was like end of my sophomore year. Can you still hear me? Oh, okay, sorry. It was end of my sophomore year, going into my junior year of college. My freshman 15 had spiraled into freshman 50. I was roughly 250 pounds, pre-diabetic, hypertensive, which up until around that time frame, I thought was normal. Because like especially on like my dad's side of the family, like I wasn't foreign to like diabetes and high blood pressure and like having to do insulin shots and stuff, or seeing it being done. So I just kind of assumed it was a part of like growing older, like with age. Just like it didn't dawn on me that the genetics only like predispose you to things, but that they're not like permanent. Like you have some control over that, and that really settled in. One because like I did go in for a checkup, and I was told that I was pre-diabetic and hypertensive, and the doctor was kind of just talking to me like, it kind of like I didn't have a choice, or basically like from the lens of like my family medical history, and telling me how it could progress and like what could happen and what like my medication options are if I don't want to change this, that, and the other. And it just didn't sit right with me. And then when I was in my bioethics bioethical issues in health education class because I had majored in community and public health with the concentration in health education. And when I was in that class, and we were like touching on epidemiology, and I just saw the trend of how like Black and brown people would die like sicker and sooner, and just really started connecting the dots there, and just had this really strong conviction like you're gonna change this, like as far as it being like a normal in my family. Like I just felt this surge. I even get like chills now as I'm talking about it because it was just like it's time for you to go. Like you need to turn this around. And it was kind of like a double-edged sword in a way because I mean I went all in. Like I lost 80 pounds from 2015 to 2017, and I was just very diligent, very disciplined. I documented everything, which of course, like seeing my before and after pictures, like I would get a lot of praise, which kind of bolstered me and inspired me to keep going in a way, even though it was a part of me that knew the way I was living wasn't really sustainable because it wasn't enjoyable. I just really had this no pain, no gain mentality, and just took that calories in, calories out concept and ran with it, and kind of just lived in that realm of like counting every calorie and macro and morsel that went into my mouth. And if I did like splurge or like indulge in something, I would kind of punish myself like with extra cardio. And I just, yeah, I don't, it kind of just, I don't want to say it crept up on me, but it's just like you kind of get consumed by it and you don't realize it until like it hits you, and it's just like your hormones are off balance and like your negative self-talk is through the roof and all these different things. So that's what I was kind of touching on earlier when I said when I went plant-based initially, it was like because I hit that plateau and I wanted to like lose more weight. But I not only lost more weight, I just gained this whole new perspective and like was able to break those patterns of like counting everything because I mean I'm eating fruit, I'm eating vegetables, like I'm eating whole grains and all of this stuff that I know or had conditioned myself to believe like this is good for me, like I can eat as much as this as I want to. So that was like relieving in a way and like freeing because it's just like you don't have to spend so much time walking around like a human calculator.
It's a lot of work.
And yeah, it was a lot of work. And I mean, I did it and I preached it, I practiced it until like I made this pivot and just realized, and it wasn't just, I mean, yes, it was the freedom with food, but even like just the dynamics of the culture, like being in Japan. Like that's why it's just always going to be so special to me because I feel like it just freed me from this box that I didn't know I was in as far as my approach to health. And
It's fair to say in that respect that it's not just the food that you eat, right? There's so much into that in terms of creating a healthy vessel, a healthy body to enjoy life in. It's not just the food. There's so much more.
And it's the mind is so important, like just the way you think about it, like it's or the way you think about yourself and like the why. I mean, why you're eating the food you're eating. Like it's not just to look a certain way. Like you want to feel good in your body. Like you want to live long and strong and have energy to get up and move throughout your day.
I think you said it perfectly there. It's about intention. I think, and until you have your intention and what you want, it's then very difficult to then live according to that, right? It's like I want to be able to have a strong body that can live a long time, that's capable of doing long walks or whatever it might be, and then because you have something that you want, it's then easier to create a lifestyle and a diet around that goal, rather than it being kind of really thinking about it and being unconsidered. And it's much easier to reach for like a box of donuts or like a fizzy drink because you don't have any kind of intention around how you want to feel or where you want to, or how you want to. What like now obviously you've had such a drastic over time, fair, but such a such an impressive, healthy and maintained weight loss. What are some of the principles that you've learned? Like, let's say if somebody's listening, they're like, okay, I wanted to give plant-based a go, and I'm not happy with my current weight. I want to feel better. Like, what are some of the principles that you've learned and that you've kind of realized over time?
Yeah. Well, we've all heard the phrase like slow progress is better than no progress. And progress also doesn't equal perfection, which are like those general, like, I don't want to say cliche terms, but we've heard them. But like once I actually started to like apply that and tell myself that, especially with my transition, like I wasn't hard on myself. Like if I don't know, went to Chili's and it's like I got the veggie burger, but I really wanted this white chili queso dip too, and I wasn't quite there yet. So giving myself that grace to transition slowly helped me to stick with it because I didn't feel deprived in any way. Like I gave myself that space to learn how to substitute and how to mimic the flavors and the textures and stuff that I grew up with. What else was it? Lost my train of thought. What were we talking about? Oh, if someone sorry. But yeah, so giving yourself the grace to transition, not being too hard on yourself. Oh my gosh, we're gonna have to pause it.
Like particular principles that you follow now that you follow then?
Oh, yeah, okay. I have something like with drinking water, like first thing in the morning. I would just go to sleep with like a bottle beside my bed, and it's just like when my alarm goes off, I just grab the water and I drink it. Sometimes I'm not even like halfway awake. It just kind of becomes like a reflex, and then it's just like I get that in, and I feel more alert. It's kind of like, I think of it like oil going into a car. It's just like, okay, you're waking up, you're getting yourself going. I would, of course, write out my shopping list because that would help save money. And I actually enjoy like planning my meals because I want to, when it comes to meal prep, like I want to like what I'm eating. Like, and I already kind of lived that life of like chicken, broccoli, and rice for like ever. I mean, it wasn't forever. It was like 2 years, but you know what I'm saying.
It gets boring when you're living like that. I think a friend of mine has a really good saying. He's like, you win or lose in the supermarket or in the market or wherever you buy your food. That's really where you win or lose, because you make good decisions there. You can then really only cook what you have at home. So I think the discipline that is important. But like you said, if you're writing out your shopping list and you're going with the intention of just buying those things, it's much easier to stick to that if you've written it out, rather than just going to like the store and just grabbing what you like at that time. Because you'll see something, you're like, just that or just that. I think having rules as well, right? Like for me, like one of my rules is I don't drink like soda or like fizzy drinks. I don't drink it. It's like drinking sugar and water. I don't do it. I try and do the first meal raw most of the time. For me, that really works. I think like I try and avoid like anything ultra processed. Most of the food I use foods. I think I just have these little rules that over time I know what the rules are and I stick to them. And I can still enjoy the food within those parameters, but and every now and again have a cheat meal here or there. But these are the general rules that I stick to, and it's like 80-20. 80% of the time, follow those principles. 20% of the time, it's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, I feel that. I get you on the 80-20 rule, and that's kind of what I I mean, I definitely eat more intuitively, or like when
Mm.
I'm planning my menus, I'm thinking about what I want to eat and like say, like for example, I had like Taco Tuesday. I mean, I always have Taco Tuesdays, but
Who doesn't?
like I wanted like yeah, and it's just like, oh, I want to do these burrito bowls, and yeah, it would be easy to like go buy like the spicy chorizo or basically something a ground that's already made. But it
Mm.
also only takes 10 minutes to do like a black bean and walnut chorizo,
Mm.
and like do it that way and like make a whole food swap. So I'm conscious of that, but I also don't know. I feel like rule can be because there are so many people have so many different like food rules and stuff that they tell you should be doing and what you could be doing. But wellness is just so specific and like
That's not
individual to the
right. You
person.
have the rules to work for you. I think it's
Right. Yeah. It's just like you want to
finding the
set
defining right.
yourself up to succeed and
Mm.
not like that's what I was kind of referencing when I say I was doing things that were unsustainable. It's just
Yeah,
like you don't like this and that you don't want to do this. So why are you putting it on your to do list if you know it's not gonna bring you any semblance of joy or just make you feel good in any type of way. So it's like I'm big on maintaining that balance in the sense of, and you also learn. I one thing in transitioning to plant based was that I just became a lot more sensitive to like my internal cues and stuff in my
mm.
body, and like the way my body would react when I ate certain things or how I would feel after, like, I don't know, a double bacon vegan cheeseburger compared to I don't know, a Buddha bowl or something like that, just giving an example. So in picking up on that, I'm just like, I don't like having that itis feeling or like feeling really sleepy. But I also, I love to eat. Like I like flavorful foods and stuff like that, or fun foods, so to speak.
Yeah, it's
And
balance.
it's kind of, yeah, and it's exciting too because it's in this day and age. There's just been so many advancements in like the evolution of like the plant-based and vegan scene is like
For sure.
wild, and it's fun to explore, but like I was saying, I also am aware of like how I'm feeling. Like I'm really tuned into my body. So it's just like, yeah, I might like have a little fun on the weekend and like eat some of this, eat some of that, whatever. But throughout the week, um, I just know I need energy to get through my days, and um, I want to sleep well too. Like sometimes when I eat like a really heavy like meal, like I don't sleep as good. Um, so being mindful of that um, just helps me to maintain that balance. Like my body kind of, I've never actually read the book, but it's on my list. The Body Keeps Score. um, just yeah, I listen to my body.
It's being in
So
tune with yourself, right? It's that being able to
mm-hmm,
listen to the body and to respond accordingly. What
mm-hmm,
you've obviously since being plant based, you've putting out a lot of content around videos and
mm-hmm,
helping people. How do you think about content? How have you managed to grow an audience? Like, how do you think
mm-hmm.
about what content to post? Like, what's your kind of perspective on that?
Yeah. The way I approach content is, I mean, excuse me, I think about things that I would have found helpful and inspiring to me at the beginning of my journey. And one of the main things with that is like just representation. Like when I was looking for just plant based recipes and stuff that I could eat, a lot of it was like so foreign to me. And it took some time for me to actually find other influencers and bloggers that like looked like me and kind of had the same background and like knew how to like make soul food out of mushrooms and stuff like that. So when I'm creating content, I often think about like who I was and where I started and like
It's a really
what
good
would have
point.
been helpful to me. And ultimately, that's like teaching people what to cook and how to cook it, and where to find certain things. And even when it comes to that convenience and that nostalgia, like how to replicate that either on your own or again, like where to go find it, like out at different restaurants and stuff like that. I think it's really important to continue to showcase that and lead by example and like showing the ease and the accessibility that can come with living this lifestyle, but also being considerate of like I'm from Covington, Tennessee, which is a very small town, and it's so different from like say being here in Seattle as far as like the options that I have access to. Whereas in Covington, you got to drive at least 45 minutes to an hour, like somewhere in Memphis, to get stuff like this. Um, but we have like a Kroger and a Walmart and things like that where I know they carry like certain products that you can find in those stores, um, to make whatever you want to make and still be this lifestyle still be like practical for you, even if you're not living in a big city. So I think about that. Also, like you said, it's not just the food either, which I've opened up like I mean it's been like slow, I guess, like being more vulnerable and open about stuff like that. But this year in particular, I've been really trying to be more intentional about exploring the depths of that other side and like touching on those things as far as like mindset and even like spirituality as far as like living in alignment with your values and just staying encouraged in other ways, not just with like your diet and exercise, but I mean in your home, like does it inspire you? Like is it like are you comfortable where you are? Are you getting out to do things that you enjoy, like and finding joy in each day? Um, I've really been on a nature kick lately, as far as like getting out and hiking, and even if I'm just like sticking my feet in the grass, like grounding, like just staying connected in that way. Um, I think that's really instrumental to maintaining. Um,
I agree. I agree. I think that,
yeah.
for me, it was the same thing actually. Going plant based was a catalyst to tapping into all of those other things. It was the first,
Mhm.
to open the door to those things. I think when you're talking about those things as well, you can hopefully help to move people towards those things, which we know are good. We know we should be more connected to the earth. We know we should be
Mhm.
more time outdoors, more time moving our body. All the things you spoke about that
Yeah.
are seen throughout the blue zones, which in recent years we've kind of been discouraged from. Right? It's kind of like it's
Oh
almost like
yeah.
it's like kind of weird in our culture if you
Mhm.
take your shoes off in the park and put your feet in the ground or you're or whatever. People think this is
Yeah.
strange, but actually is what we need to reconnect. Like that's kind of
Mhm.
what it's all about. And the ability to listen to yourself often comes from is clearing that vessel, right? You're putting
Mhm.
whole foods, natural foods into your body. You're kind of where the signal was a bit kind of unclear. You're clearing it up, and you can connect more, and you can listen more, and follow that internal guidance system, which ultimately
Yeah.
leads back to nature, back to connection, back to all of these things.
Mhm.
I think it's
Yeah, it's like, and it's really something to experience, I think. Like like I said, trying to be intentional about like what I'm saying and like articulating that like in a way to where it's like applicable, even if you aren't like living the lifestyle at the moment. But it really is like, it's a feeling. And it's just like I know for me, I just fell in love with it. Like this feels great. Like I feel good in my body. Like
real.
cause it changes your quality of life. Or I know for me, like being like when I was like heavier and like not as healthy as I am today, I wouldn't be out hiking 7 miles around around a mountain, like, or I wouldn't even want to. So it's just like I really appreciate just that growth and evolution because it's like I can experience more and do more in that regard.
In today's age as well, when there's so much talk about mental health, I think
Hmm.
mental health is always kind of left out of that conversation, and it's very
Yeah.
difficult to have a positive mindset if you're in a body that doesn't feel good. If you're in a body that
Hmm.
finds going for a walk difficult, or you always feel tired or not
Hmm.
healthy, it's very difficult to have a
Right.
positive mindset. And so I think the
Right.
two are so interconnected. We should be talking more about how to cultivate good physical health and all
Hmm.
the things you said about there are things that are accessible to most people. You can eat whole
Hmm.
foods. They're cheap, they're affordable. You can get out and walk and hike. You can put your feet in the earth. You can
Hmm.
connect to some time with yourself. These are all things that all of us can do. And I think it's great that you speak about it, and more of us need to speak about it because we all want the. I love this way of thinking where like the collective health and consciousness is only as high and as
Hmm.
positive and powerful as the individual. And so the more people
Yeah.
have elevated health and consciousness, the healthier the society at large. And so we just all need to pull each other up, basically.
Yeah. I love that perspective. And
Mm.
I agree because it's like so much bigger than, like, it's just bigger than you.
Yeah, for
And it's
sure.
bigger than even like what, which being on the other end of the spectrum now, as far as not just how my body feels, but like how it looks these days compared to what it did. Um, I try to bridge that gap in a way, because it's just like you shouldn't feel deterred or like you can't go out and do these things just because you have a little more meat on your bones at the time. Like you can still go for a walk, you can still go for a hike, you can still go to a new, I don't know, health food cafe and like just try something new. You could drink kombucha. Like it's not like for a certain type of person.
I
And
agree.
that was, yeah, that was something that I like grappled with too, like as far as like veganism or being plant based in general. Like I'm like, who like who's gonna do that? Like that's not me. I don't know nobody that does that. Like it, and it just didn't seem, it kind of becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy in a way because it's just like you think it's not for you and it's not going to be for you. But if you keep an open mind and give yourself a chance to explore and evolve, like I well, yeah, I guess surprise would be like the right word, like in a sense of like 5, 6, 7 years ago. I mean, I guess I had an idea of what I was working toward, but like it wasn't yet conceivable to me
Mm.
that I could like be living in this way and actually enjoy it and thrive on it. So,
I think it's so
yeah.
powerful to have examples that we can relate to, right? And so that's why I encourage everyone that's going through this kind of journey. That's important that you share your story and share. It's beautiful that we have social media and podcasts and everything
Hmm.
because we have examples historically of like celebrities and such, but it's unrelatable. Whereas when you see people
Hmm.
on Instagram or you see and like you can see what they've been through and what they've been able to do, it makes it real
Yeah.
to you and it gives you a real kind of example. I think that's
Yeah.
amazing. I want to be respectful of your time, so I really appreciate you speaking to me. Is there
Yeah.
anything coming up that you want to share? Anything you're working on? Anywhere people can follow you and find you?
Yeah. Well, Instagram, that's my primary platform as of now. So underscore cooking with Constance underscore. Uh, yeah, that's where I'm at. As far as what I'm working on, I'm, like I said, really leaning into like just vulnerability and like just tapping into my spirituality. So doing that, sharing, eating plants, living out loud. That's my vibe on Instagram.
Well,
So yeah.
amazing. We'll link it in the notes, and yeah, everyone can go and follow there. But I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.